My son told me, "My wife thinks you're a burden," and honestly, I agree. I just said, "Good to know." I didn't react. I understood perfectly. That night, I made a phone call. But at lunch that Sunday, when my new husband suddenly stood up, looked at my son, and asked a question that silenced the entire table, his smile vanished instantly. But let me tell you how we got there. Because what Marcus didn't know, and what Chloe never imagined, is that I was no longer the same woman they thought they could destroy. It all started 3 weeks before that lunch. I was in the living room of my house, the house where Marcus grew up, where he spent every Christmas, every birthday, and every important moment of his life. I had just gotten back from the pharmacy with his medicine, because Chloe had called me that morning saying Marcus had the flu and needed someone to pick up his prescription. Of course, that someone was always me. I left the bag on the table. Marcus was sitting on the sofa, the same sofa where I used to rock him to sleep when he had nightmares. But now he looked at me as if I were a stranger, as if I were a problem he needed to solve. "My wife thinks you're a burden," he repeated. And honestly, Mom, I agree. The words fell like stones, each one heavier than the last. I waited for him to say it was a joke, to laugh, to hug me like he did when he was a boy, and told me I was his hero. But there was none of that, only his cold eyes, identical to his father's, but without the love his father always had for me. "Good to know," I said. My voice didn't tremble. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just took my purse and walked toward the door. I heard him call out, "Mom, wait." But I didn't stop. My legs moved on their own, one in front of the other, as if they knew that if I stopped, if I turned around, I would fall apart right there. I drove home on autopilot. I don't even remember the drive. Only the hum of the engine and the weight in my chest that grew larger with every mile. When I got home, I locked the door and sat on the sofa. The daylight faded into twilight, and I was still there, motionless, feeling something inside me break. A burden. That word kept bouncing around in my head. Burden. As if my 61 years were dead weight. As if every sacrifice I made since I became a widow meant nothing. As if the sleepless nights working 2 jobs to pay for his university tuition were just a nuisance. I got up and walked to my bedroom. In the closet, tucked away in a shoebox, was a photo of Marcus on his graduation day. I was standing next to him, exhausted but happy, still wearing my hospital scrubs because I had rushed from my shift so I wouldn't miss the ceremony. He was hugging me and smiling. That day, he told me, "Mom, everything I am is thanks to you." I closed the box. That night, at 11:15, I picked up the phone. My hands were shaking a little as I dialed, but my voice came out steady. "David," I said when he answered, "I need to talk to you about what you proposed last week." My answer is yes. There was a silence on the other end. Then his voice, warm and surprised, asked, "Evelyn, are you sure?" "I don't want you to rush because—" "I'm sure," I interrupted. "Surer than I've been about anything in a long time." "Then let's do it," he said. "Tomorrow, if you want. Tomorrow is perfect." I hung up and stared at the phone. David was a man I had met 6 months earlier in a support group for widows and widowers. He was the man who looked at me as if I were something valuable, not a burden. The man who had proposed to me 3 times, and 3 times I had said I needed time, that I had to think about Marcus, that I didn't want to complicate things. But Marcus had already made his decision about me. Now I would make mine. The following days were strange. Marcus called me twice. I didn't answer. He sent me a text saying we needed to talk, that things had gotten out of hand, and that Chloe was upset because I had left without saying goodbye. I deleted the message without responding. On Wednesday, I married David in a small ceremony at the courthouse. Only Sarah, my best friend of 30 years, and Robert, my brother, were there. I wore an ivory dress I bought that same morning. Nothing elaborate, nothing flashy, just something simple and pretty that made me feel like myself. When the judge said, "You may kiss the bride," David took my hand and whispered, "You're the best thing that's ever happened to me, Evelyn." And for the first time in weeks, I truly smiled. That night at dinner, David asked me when we were going to tell Marcus. "Sunday," I said. "Chloe always hosts those family lunches on Sundays. She invites her whole family. She likes to show off her house, her perfect life. This Sunday, we're going. Are you sure? David asked. His voice was soft, but there was concern in his eyes. Completely sure, I replied. What I hadn't told him yet was what I had overheard 2 days after Marcus called me a burden. I had discovered it by accident when I arrived early at their house to drop off a glass container of food I had prepared. Because despite everything, I was still his mother, and I still cared about him. I arrived, and the door was ajar. I was about to knock when I heard Chloe's voice on the phone in the kitchen. I've almost convinced him, Mom, she was saying. It's just a matter of time. Once we convince her to go somewhere where they can take better care of her, we can sell that house. Marcus has a right to it. He's an only child. That property is worth at least $200,000. Easy. My blood turned to ice. And don't worry, Chloe continued. Marcus is starting to see it my way. I'm showing him articles about how seniors are better off in assisted living communities. I've already planted the idea that she's lonely, that she could fall, that it's dangerous. In a month, maybe 2, she'll sign the papers. I backed away in silence. I left the food on the porch and drove away. Now, sitting in my living room next to David, with the marriage certificate on the table and a strange sense of calm, I knew exactly what to do. Sunday would come, and with it, the truth. That week was the strangest of my life. On the outside, everything seemed normal. I went to the grocery store, watered the plants, watched my shows on television. But on the inside, something had completely changed. It was as if I had taken off a costume I had been wearing for years without realizing it. David and I decided not to move in together just yet. He had his apartment, I had my house. But now something was different. There was someone who called me every morning just to ask how I slept. Someone who sent me photos of funny things he saw on the street. Someone who treated my company like a gift, not an obligation. Do you know when the last time was that Marcus called me just to see how I was doing? Not to ask me to watch the dog? Not to have me hold a package? Not to ask for a favor? Just to check on me. I can't remember. Maybe when his father had just died and he was 22 and still needed me. Maybe then. But after that, little by little, I became something convenient. A solution. A resource. Sarah came to visit me on Thursday. She brought wine and chocolate cake, my favorite. We sat on the deck as the sun went down. Do you know what you're going to say to him? She asked. I don't need to say anything, I replied. I just need him to see. Sarah had known me since we were young, since before I married Marcus's father. She was the one who held me when I was widowed, who helped me get the job at the hospital, who watched Marcus when I had double shifts. That boy was your world, Evelyn, she said quietly. You gave everything for him. I know. And now? Now I need to give something to myself. We drank in silence. The sky turned orange, then pink, then purple. It was beautiful. I realized it had been months since I had sat down just to watch the sunset. I was always busy, always running somewhere, always available for whenever Marcus or Chloe needed something. When exactly did it all start? Sarah asked. I tried to remember. When exactly did my son start seeing me as a burden? I think it was when he got married, I finally said. At first, everything was fine. Chloe was kind, polite. She called me mother-in-law with affection. But after the wedding, something changed. Small things at first, so small that I thought I was imagining them. Like what? Sarah asked. Like the time I organized a birthday dinner for Marcus at my house. I invited the whole family. I cooked for 2 days. Chloe showed up and said, "Oh, I didn't know that was today. We already ate." And Marcus just shrugged and said, "Well, Mom, you could have confirmed." Sarah made a face. Or the time I got sick with pneumonia, I continued. I was in the hospital for 4 days. Marcus came to visit me once. And he only stayed for 20 minutes because Chloe called saying she needed him to pick something up from the dry cleaners. "Evelyn," Sarah whispered. Or when I turned 60 last year, I organized a small gathering at a restaurant. Nothing fancy, just something simple with close friends. Marcus showed up an hour late with Chloe. They didn't even bring a gift. Chloe complained all night that the air conditioning was too cold, that the food was too salty, that they had to leave early because she had things to do the next day. And Marcus didn't say a word. He just nodded along with everything she said. as if I wasn't there. As if my birthday didn't matter. Sarah put her hand over mine. You should have told me all this sooner. I know, but I kept thinking it would get better, that it was just a phase, that Chloe would get used to me, that Marcus would remember who I am, who I was to him. I wiped away a tear that escaped without permission. Do you know what's the worst part? I said. It's not that they treated me badly, it's that I let them. Every time they canceled a visit, I said it was okay. Every time they excluded me from something, I justified it. Every time I felt small, I told myself I was overreacting. No more, Sarah said firmly. No more, I repeated. That night, after Sarah left, I took an old box out of the closet. It was full of memories from when Marcus was a child, drawings he made for me in school, Mother's Day cards with his shaky handwriting, a photo of the two of us at the park. He was about 6 years old, hugging my neck while I carried him on my back. In one of the cards, written in colored crayons, he had written, "You are the best mom in the world. I love you to the moon and back." I put everything back in the box, but this time, I didn't put it in the closet. I left it on the dining room table. I wanted it there to remind me that I wasn't crazy, that there was a time when that boy loved me, that I was important to him. Friday afternoon, Marcus called me. "Mom," I answered. His voice sounded awkward. "Hey, Mom, Chloe wants you to come over for lunch on Sunday. You know, like usual. Her whole family is going to be there." My heart beat faster, but I kept my voice calm. "What time?" 1 o'clock. "I'll be there." There was a pause. "Are you okay?" "You sounded weird." "I'm perfect, Marcus. See you Sunday." I hung up before he could say anything else. David arrived that night with flowers. Peach roses, my favorite. He didn't even know they were my favorite until I mentioned it in passing 3 months ago. He remembered. "Ready for Sunday?" he asked. "Ready," I replied. "Do you want to rehearse what you're going to say?" "No. It'll just come out. I have it all right here." I touched my chest. "Everything I need to say is right here." David hugged me. He was tall, with gray hair and wrinkles around his eyes that deepened when he smiled. He was 65 years old and had lost his wife to cancer 5 years ago. In the support group, he was always the one who made everyone laugh, the one who brought coffee for those who arrived sad, the one who stayed afterward to help tidy up the chairs. The first time we spoke was when I cried while telling the group how Marcus had forgotten the anniversary of his father's death. David sat next to me and handed me a tissue. After the group, he invited me for coffee. We just talked. About everything and nothing. About life, about loss, about how to keep going when you feel like a part of you died too. We started seeing each other more often. Walks in the park, simple dinners, movies. He never pressured me, never demanded anything. He was just there, constant, like a lighthouse in the middle of a storm. And now, he was my husband. Life is strange that way. When you think everything is falling apart, sometimes you're just making room for something better. Saturday night, I couldn't sleep well. I kept tossing and turning, imagining different scenarios. How would Marcus react when he saw David? What would Chloe say? And her family? But what kept me awake wasn't fear. It was something deeper. It was knowing that after Sunday, nothing would be the same. That I was going to cross a line from which there was no return. That maybe I would lose my son forever. Is it worth it? I asked myself in the dark. But then I remembered his words. "My wife thinks you're a burden." And honestly, I agree. I had already lost him. I just hadn't accepted it until now. Sunday dawned clear. I got up early, showered, and dressed with care. I put on a wine-colored dress that David had told me looked beautiful on me. I applied soft makeup. I put on the pearl earrings that my husband, Marcus's father, had given me for our 10th anniversary. David arrived at 12:30. He was wearing slacks and a cream-colored shirt. He looked handsome, distinguished. He offered me his arm. "Ready, missus?" he asked with a smile. "Ready, mister?" I replied. And we left for Marcus's house. Marcus and Chloe's house was in a new neighborhood, one of those where all the houses look the same and the lawns are perfectly manicured. They had bought the house 2 years ago with the help of a loan that I had co-signed. $20,000 of my money had also gone toward the down payment. Marcus told me he would pay me back as soon as he could. He never did. He never mentioned it again. When we arrived, there were several cars parked outside. I recognized the one belonging to Martha, Chloe's mother, and Megan's, her sister. Others I didn't know. David turned off the engine, but neither of us moved. "Sure?" he asked for the third time. "Sure," I replied. We walked to the door holding hands. My heart was beating so hard I thought David could feel it. I rang the bell. Chloe opened the door. Her hair was perfectly styled, her makeup impeccable. She wore white pants and a salmon-colored blouse. Her smile was bright and practiced, the kind people use for photographs. "Evelyn, so glad you came," she said, but the smile froze when she saw David. "And he is?" "My husband," I said calmly. David. This is Chloe." The smile completely vanished from her face. "Husband? What are you talking about? We got married this week," David said, extending his hand. "Nice to meet you." Chloe didn't take his hand. She just stared at us as if we had just said we were from Mars. "Marcus!" she shouted toward the inside. "Marcus, get over here, now!" Marcus appeared, wiping his hands with a dish towel. He was wearing a striped shirt and jeans. When he saw me, his expression softened a bit. "Mom, hi," but then he saw David and frowned. "Who is he?" "Your stepfather," I said. "We got married on Wednesday." The towel fell from his hands. "What? You heard me? David and I got married. He's my husband." The silence was so thick you could cut it. From inside, you could hear voices, laughter, and the sound of the television. But on that porch, no one moved. "You're joking," Marcus finally said. "I'm not joking. Mom, you can't just get married to a stranger without—" "He's not a stranger," I interrupted. "I've known him for 6 months, and I don't need your permission. I'm 61 years old, Marcus. I can make my own decisions." Chloe laughed. It was a short, sharp laugh, full of contempt. "This is ridiculous. Evelyn, you're clearly going through something. At your age, these kinds of impulsive decisions." "Careful," David said. His voice was soft, but there was steel in it. "You're talking about my wife." Chloe looked at him like he was dirt on her shoe. "And who do you think you are? Coming here out of nowhere thinking you can." "I'm the person Evelyn chose," David interrupted. "And I came because she asked me to. Nothing more, nothing less." Marcus ran his hand through his hair. "Mom, we need to talk. In private." "We can talk inside," I said. "That's what I came for the family lunch." I walked in without waiting for an answer. David followed me. Chloe and Marcus had no choice but to let us pass. The living room was full of people. Martha was sitting on the main sofa with a glass of Chardonnay. Megan, Chloe's sister, was in the dining room setting out plates. There were 3 more people I didn't know. Cousins, maybe, or friends. Everyone turned when we entered. "Look who's here," Chloe said in a sing-song voice, but her eyes were hard. "The mother-in-law, and she brought company." Martha stood up. She was a large woman with dark-dyed hair, wearing too much jewelry and too much perfume. "Evelyn, dear," she said. "What a surprise. And who is your friend?" "My husband," I repeated for the 3rd time. "David." The conversation stopped. Someone turned off the television. "Husband?" Martha said. Her voice rose 2 octaves. But Marcus never mentioned anything about a wedding. "Because he didn't know," Marcus said from behind. "Apparently my mother decided to get married without telling anyone." "Because it's my life," I said, turning toward him. "Because I don't need to report every decision I make to you, because I've stopped waiting for your approval to exist." The blow was direct. Marcus blinked as if I had slapped him. "Mom, I never said that. Didn't you? Then what was it you said the other day at my house?" "Refresh my memory, Marcus. What exactly was it you told me?" Marcus looked at Chloe. She looked back with a warning. "This isn't the time," Chloe said quickly. "We have guests. We can talk about this after lunch." "No," I said firmly. "We talk now, because I have a few things to say and everyone is going to hear them." "Evelyn, don't make a scene," Chloe hissed. "A scene? Like the scene of planning behind my back how to get rid of me?" The room fell into complete silence. Chloe turned pale. "What are you talking about? You know exactly what I'm talking about. I heard you, a week ago, Talking on the phone with your mother about how to convince Marcus to lock me away in a nursing home. About how to sell my house. About how I was a nuisance you needed to get out of the way. Martha set her glass down with a sharp clink. Chloe, is that true? Chloe opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Marcus looked at me. Mom, that's not. We were just worried about you. Living alone, at your age, with the risks of… Risks? What risks, Marcus? I'm perfectly healthy. I work part-time at the clinic. I manage my own home. Or is the only risk that I still own a property worth $200,000 and you want to get your hands on it? That's not fair, Marcus said. His voice sounded weak. Not fair? I'll give you something that isn't fair. I worked 18 years at 2 jobs to give you an education. I sold your father's car to pay for your last year of college. I stayed in that small, cold apartment because every extra cent went to you. And when you got married, when you bought this house, I put $20,000 of my savings into it. Do you remember that, Marcus? Do you remember telling me you'd pay me back? Marcus looked down. 2 years have passed. Not a single dollar. Not even a mention. But now it turns out I'm a burden. That I'm a problem. That I need to be put somewhere where I won't be a bother. Evelyn. Nobody said that. Martha tried to intervene. Your daughter said it. And my son agreed. My voice broke slightly at the last part. David squeezed my hand. Megan, Chloe's sister, set down the plates she was holding. Chloe, tell me this isn't true. Tell me you weren't planning to do that. Chloe finally found her voice. You're taking everything out of context. I was just exploring options. Evelyn is alone. She's older. Something could happen to her, and nobody would know. I was just being practical. Practical, I repeated. What a convenient word. Was it also practical to exclude me from the baby shower when you were expecting your first baby? Oh, wait. You're not expecting anymore, are you? That was 6 months ago. What happened with that pregnancy, Chloe? Chloe turned red. That's none of your business. Of course not. Nothing is my business. Except when you need money, when you need someone to watch the dog, when you need someone to bring you food or medicine, then I'm family. Then I exist. Marcus took a step toward me. Mom, enough. You're saying hurtful things. Hurtful? For whom, Marcus? For you? For her? What about me? What about what I felt when my only son told me I'm a burden? Tears began to roll down my cheeks, but I didn't wipe them away. Let them see. Let them see what they had done to me. I worked until my hands bled. I packed your lunch every day for 12 years. I took you to school, to soccer, to all your activities. When you had a fever, I didn't sleep while I took care of you. When you cried over your first heartbreak, I cried with you. When your father died, I held you up even though I was destroyed myself. My voice grew louder. I gave you everything. Everything I had. Everything I was. And now you tell me I'm a burden. The silence in that room was deafening. No one moved. No one breathed. Even Chloe's unknown cousins were paralyzed, their eyes wide, watching the scene like a car accident they couldn't look away from. Marcus had tears in his eyes. Mom, I didn't mean to say. You did mean it, I interrupted. You said it, looking me in the eyes. Without hesitation, without blinking. You told me your wife thought I was a burden and that you agreed. Those were your exact words. It was a moment of anger, he said weakly. I was stressed. Chloe and I had been arguing and… So you used me as a target, I said. How convenient. When things go wrong in your marriage, take it out on your mother. After all, she'll always be there. She'll always forgive. She'll always come back. I wiped the tears with the back of my hand. David took a handkerchief from his pocket and gave it to me. That small gesture, so simple, so full of care, gave me the strength to continue. Do you know what the saddest part of all this is? I said, looking around the room. It's not that Marcus said that to me. It's not that Chloe planned to get rid of me. It's that I allowed it. For years, I let you treat me like I was invisible, as if my only function was to serve. No one answered. Martha had sat back down. Her face was a mix of discomfort and something that looked like shame. Megan looked at her sister with an expression I couldn't decipher. Do you remember when I got sick with pneumonia last year? I continued. I was in the hospital for 4 days. Marcus came to see me once, one single time, 20 minutes. Because Chloe needed him to go to the dry cleaners. I had to work, Marcus murmured. You had to work, I repeated bitterly. But you had time to go to the baseball game with your friends that same week. I saw the photos on your Facebook. Marcus opened his mouth but said nothing. And when I turned 60, I continued, I organized a dinner. Nothing fancy. I just wanted to be with my son. You showed up an hour late. No gift. No apology. Chloe complained all night, and you didn't say a word. You acted like I was an obligation you had to fulfill as quickly as possible. Mom, stop, Marcus said. His voice sounded broken. No, Marcus, I won't stop. Because there's more. Much more. Like when you cropped me out of the family photos you posted at Christmas. Like when you had a barbecue for your friends and didn't invite me. Like when I asked to borrow the car because mine was in the shop and you told me I should just take an Uber. Each word was like a stone I had been carrying in my chest. Each one hurt as it came out, but it also set me free. But the worst, the absolutely worst part, was 3 months ago. Do you remember? It was the anniversary of your father's death. 12 years. I went to the cemetery alone. I brought flowers. I stayed there for 2 hours crying. And when I got home, I called Marcus, just to hear his voice, just so I wouldn't feel so alone. Do you know what you told me? Marcus closed his eyes. You told me you were busy, that it was car wash day, that we'd talk later. You never called back. Chloe crossed her arms. This is emotional manipulation. You're using guilt to... Manipulation? David interrupted. His voice was calm but firm. What I hear is a woman expressing years of pain that you caused her. That's not manipulation. That's the truth. You have nothing to say here, Chloe snapped at him. You're not part of this family. I am her husband, David said, and I've seen her cry for her son more times than I can count. I've seen her defend your actions when they clearly have no defense. I've seen her justify every slight, every forgotten moment, every bit of cruelty, because she loves you, because he's her son. But that love isn't mutual, is it? That's not true, Marcus said quickly. I love my mother. Oh, really? David asked. Then why do you treat her like a nuisance? Why do you allow your wife to plan to lock her in a nursing home to take her house? I didn't know about that, Marcus said, looking at Chloe. Chloe, tell me that's not true. Chloe opened her mouth, but Martha spoke first. It's true, she said softly. Chloe called me 2 weeks ago. She told me she had a plan, that she just needed to convince Marcus that Evelyn couldn't live alone, that once they put her somewhere, they could sell the house and use that money to remodel this one. Marcus's face crumpled. What? Mom! Shut up! Chloe hissed. I won't shut up, Martha said, standing up. Megan is right. This is wrong, Chloe. Very wrong. I didn't raise you to do this. All of you are hypocrites, Chloe exploded. Now you're acting like saints? Mom, you were the one who told me that mothers-in-law were a problem. You were the one who told me Marcus needed to set boundaries. You were the one who... I never told you to steal an old woman's house, Martha shouted. I never told you to lock her in a home. There's a difference between healthy boundaries and what you're doing. Chloe looked like a cornered animal. Her eyes went from her mother to Marcus to me, searching for support and finding it nowhere. Marcus slumped into a chair. Mom, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know about the house. But you knew you wanted me gone, I said. You knew you saw me as a burden. You told me that yourself. Not Chloe. You. I was confused. Chloe kept telling me that. That what? I interrupted. What was she telling you, Marcus? That I was old? That I was dependent? That I was in the way? And you just believed it? Without asking me? Without talking to me? Without even hesitating? I thought I was doing the right thing, he said in a choked voice. The right thing for whom, Marcus? For you. For her. But not for me. Never for me. Megan walked over to Chloe. Her face showed disgust. This is low. Even for you, she said. I knew you could be selfish. But this, you don't know anything. Chloe screamed at her. I know enough. I know Dad was right about you. I know that when he died, the first thing you did was check how much he had left you in the will. I know you cried more about not getting the car you wanted than about his death. Chloe raised her hand as if to slap her sister, but Martha stopped her. That's enough, Martha said. Chloe, You need help. This isn't normal. The cousins started whispering among themselves. One of them, a young man with a beard, got up and walked out of the house without saying a word. Another followed him. Within minutes, the living room was emptying. Marcus was still sitting there, his head in his hands. I looked at him and saw my son, the boy I raised, the teenager I hugged, the man I thought I knew. But I also saw a stranger. Someone who chose to believe lies about me instead of defending me. "Do you have anything else to say?" I asked him. He raised his head, his eyes were red. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Mom." "I am too," I said. "I'm sorry that you lost sight of who you are. I'm sorry you chose this. I'm sorry you can't see what you had until you lost it." "What do you mean by that?" "I mean that I'm no longer going to be available. I won't answer every time you call asking for a favor. I won't drop everything to help you. I won't keep being convenient." "Mom, please. I have a life now," I continued. "I have a husband who loves me. I have friends who value me. I have plans, dreams, things I want to do. And I won't put any of that on hold for someone who sees me as a burden." "It's not like that," he said. His voice was barely a whisper. It was, "Marcus. It was for a long time, and maybe one day you'll be able to understand the damage you caused. But that day isn't today. Today I just want to leave here with my dignity intact." David stepped closer and put his arm around me. "Ready?" "Ready." We walked toward the door. Behind us, I heard Marcus crying. I heard Chloe screaming something at Martha. I heard chaos and pain and the sound of a family breaking into pieces. But I didn't turn around. I kept walking. Outside, the sun was shining. The birds were singing. Life went on, indifferent to the drama we had just left behind. David opened the car door. Before getting in, I looked back at the house one last time. Marcus was at the window, watching me leave. I raised my hand in a small gesture. It wasn't goodbye. It wasn't forgiveness. It was just acknowledgement of what was, of what could have been, of what would never be. Then I got in the car, and we drove away. We drove in silence for the first 10 minutes. I stared out the window without really seeing anything. The houses, the trees, the people walking their dogs, everything passed by like a blurry movie. I felt the weight of what I had just done settling in my chest like a huge stone. "Are you okay?" David finally asked. "I don't know," I answered honestly. "I don't think so. I don't think I'm going to be okay for a while." He reached for my hand and squeezed it gently. "You didn't have to do that today. We could have waited." "No," I said. "It had to be today. It had to be now. If I waited any longer, I would have convinced myself to let it go." Again. David nodded but didn't say anything else. That was something I loved about him. He knew when to talk and when to just be present. He didn't try to fix everything with empty words. He was just there. When we got to my house, I sat on the sofa and stared at the wall. David went to the kitchen and came back with a glass of water and 2 aspirins. "For the headache you're going to have?" he said. I took the pills. He was right. I could already feel the pressure behind my eyes, that feeling that my head was about to explode. "Do you want me to stay?" he asked. I shook my head. "I need to be alone for a bit, to process all of this." "I understand, but I'm going to call you in an hour. And if you don't answer, I'm coming back." I smiled weakly. "Okay." David leaned over and kissed my forehead. "You're the bravest woman I know, Evelyn." After he left, the house felt too quiet. I took off my shoes and lay down on the sofa, staring at the ceiling. Marcus's words kept bouncing around in my head. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Mom." But he was sorry because he had been caught, because he had been exposed in front of everyone. Not because he truly understood what he had done. Not because he felt in his soul the pain he had caused me. My phone started ringing. "It was Sarah," I answered. "I already heard," she said without preamble. "Megan just called me. Evelyn, you're my hero." "I don't feel like a hero," I said. "I feel empty." "That's normal. You just confronted years of emotional abuse. You just set boundaries where you never had any. That's not easy." "Did I do the right thing?" Sarah sighed. "What would have happened if you didn't? If you let Chloe keep going with her plan? If you allowed Marcus to keep treating you like garbage? They would have put me in a home," I said quietly. "They would have sold my house. They would have taken everything from me. Exactly. So yes, you did the right thing. It might not feel good now, but you did it. We talked for a while longer. Sarah told me that Megan was furious with Chloe, that she had called the whole extended family to tell them what had happened, that Martha was embarrassed and had left Marcus's house swearing not to return until Chloe apologized to me. She won't apologize, I said. People like Chloe never think they're wrong. I know. But Marcus might. I don't care, I lied. Though we both knew I cared. That I cared far too much. After hanging up with Sarah, I lay there, watching the afternoon turn into night. I wasn't hungry. I didn't want to watch television. I just wanted the day to end, but my mind wouldn't let me rest. It kept replaying scenes from when Marcus was little. The first time he said, "Mommy." His first day of school, when he cried clinging to my leg. The time he fell off his bike and came running to me with bleeding knees. The night his father died and I held him while he sobbed, saying it wasn't fair, that he needed him, that he didn't know how to go on without him. At what point did I stop being the person he ran to? At what point did I become the person he ran from? The phone rang again. This time, it was a number I didn't recognize. I hesitated before answering. "Hello, Evelyn. It's Robert, my brother. We didn't talk much, maybe once a month. He lived in another state and had his own family, his own problems." "Sarah called me," he said. "She told me what happened." "Oh, why didn't you tell me things were so bad?" "Why?" I shrugged, even though he couldn't see me. "Why? Because I didn't want to admit it. Because I was ashamed." Ashamed of what? Of having raised a son who treats me like this? Of not seeing the signs? Of letting it go so far? Robert sighed. "Evelyn, you didn't raise that man. You raised a good boy. What that man became later, that was his choice, and the influence of other people. But it's not your fault. It feels like it is, I know, but it's not. Look, I know I haven't been the best brother. I know I've been distant, but I want you to know I'm here. If you need me, I'm here." His words made me cry again. "Thank you, Robert. And this David guy? Is he good to you?" "He's very good to me." "Then I'm glad. You deserve it. You've always given yourself to everyone else. It was time someone gave something to you." After hanging up with Robert, I got up and went to the kitchen. I needed to do something with my hands. Something normal. Something to make me feel like myself. I started making tea. I put water on to boil. I took out my favorite mug, the one with hand-painted flowers I bought at a market years ago. While I waited for the water to boil, I looked around my kitchen. It was small but cozy. I had photos on the refrigerator. One was of Marcus when he was 10, in his soccer uniform, with a huge, gap-toothed smile. Another was of my husband, Marcus's father, on our 5th wedding anniversary. Slowly, I took Marcus's photo off the refrigerator. I held it in my hands for a long moment. Then I put it in a drawer. I didn't throw it away, but I didn't need to see it every day. The water boiled. I made my tea. I sat at the table and drank it slowly, feeling the warmth spread through my chest. My phone vibrated. A text from Marcus. "Mom, please, we need to talk. I love you. Forgive me." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I deleted it without responding. Another message arrived 5 minutes later. "I'm so sorry. I don't know what to say. Please don't ignore me." I deleted that too. Then another. "Chloe and I are having problems. I think you're right about her. I don't know how I didn't see it before." That message made me angry. Now that his marriage was in trouble, now that Chloe had been exposed, now he came looking for me. Not because he truly understood what he had done to me, but because he needed me again. I blocked his number. The doorbell rang. I got up carefully. Through the peephole, I saw Sarah standing on my porch with a bag of Chinese takeout. I opened the door. "I know you said you wanted to be alone," she said, "but I also know you haven't eaten anything. So I came with food and I'm not taking no for an answer." I let her in. We put the food on the table and ate in silence for a while. Chow mein, fried rice, sweet and sour chicken. Everything was delicious, though I could barely taste anything. "Marcus is texting me," I finally said. "What do they say? That he's sorry, that he loves me, that he's having problems with Chloe?" Sarah set down her chopsticks. "Of course, now that everything exploded, Now he seeks you out. I blocked his number. Good. Do you think I'm a bad person for doing that? Sarah looked me directly in the eyes. I think you're a person who is finally protecting herself. And no, that doesn't make you bad. It makes you human. We ate a little more. Sarah told me about her day, about her granddaughter who just started kindergarten, about her husband who was trying to learn how to cook and was burning everything. The normalcy of the conversation was like a balm. It reminded me that life went on, that there were other things besides this pain, that there were laughs and simple moments and beauty in the everyday. After Sarah left, I called David. "Hello," he said. His voice sounded worried. "How are you?" "Better, I think." Sarah came over. We ate. We talked. "I'm glad." "David," I said, "thank you. For today. For everything. For believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. I'm always going to believe in you, Evelyn. Always." That night I went to bed early, but I couldn't sleep. I lay there staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had happened, everything I had said, everything that had changed in a single day. Part of me wanted to call Marcus. I wanted to tell him that everything was okay, that we could fix it, that I forgave him. But another part, the part that had grown in recent weeks, the part that David and Sarah had helped strengthen, that part knew I couldn't do that. Not yet, maybe never. And I had to be at peace with that. The following days were strange. I woke up on Monday expecting to feel different, but everything seemed the same. The sun came out, the birds sang, the world kept turning as if nothing had happened, as if my life hadn't split in two the previous Sunday. David came over every morning. He brought coffee and pastries. He sat with me on the deck and didn't demand conversation. He was just there. Some mornings I cried, others I sat in silence, and others we talked about simple things. The weather, the flowers that needed water, the movie we had seen the week before. Sarah also came over often. She brought food, magazines, excuses to get me out of the house. One day she took me to the hair salon. "Cut your hair," she said. "Start over." And I did. I cut the hair I had worn long for years, something shorter, more modern. When I saw myself in the mirror, I almost didn't recognize myself. But I liked it. On Wednesday, I received a letter. It was from Martha, Chloe's mother. I opened it with trembling hands. "Dear Evelyn," it said. "I don't know if this letter means anything to you, but I need to write it anyway. I want to apologize. As a mother, I failed. I failed to teach my daughter about respect, about empathy, about how to treat people who love us. I thought I was being protective when I told her to set boundaries with mothers-in-law, but I never imagined she would take it so far. I never imagined she would hurt someone this way. I have spoken with Chloe. She won't listen. She says you overreacted to everything, that you're dramatic, that you manipulated the situation. But I was there. I know what I saw. I know what she was planning, and I am ashamed. I don't expect your forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that there is someone from that family who recognizes the damage done to you and who feels it deeply, with respect and regret. Martha." I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in a drawer. I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know whether to forgive Martha or if her apology even mattered. But something in me softened a bit as I read it, knowing that someone had seen, that someone understood. On Thursday, Robert called me again. "Evelyn," he said, "I need to tell you something." Marcus called me. My heart skipped a beat. What did he want? He wanted me to talk to you, to convince you to give him another chance, to explain that he's sorry. And what did you tell him? I told him you need space, that he needs to understand the magnitude of what he did, that an "I'm sorry" isn't going to fix years of neglect. "Thank you," I whispered. "But Evelyn, I also need to be honest with you." He sounded devastated. "I know that doesn't change anything. I know it doesn't erase what he did, but he is suffering." "I suffered too," I said, "for years, and he didn't notice, or he didn't care. I know. I just wanted you to know." After hanging up, I sat in the garden. It was hot. The flowers I had planted in the spring were in full bloom. Reds, yellows, oranges, bright, vivid colors that contrasted with how I felt inside. Was I being cruel by not answering Marcus? Was I being selfish for needing this space? Part of me missed him. I missed the boy he used to be. I missed the relationship I thought we had, but I no longer knew if that relationship had ever been real, or if it was just something I had imagined. On Friday, Sarah arrived with different news. "Do you remember Howard?" she asked. "The gentleman from the support group?" I nodded. Howard was an older man, sweet, who had lost his wife 10 years ago and kept coming to the group to help others. "He died yesterday," Sarah said softly. "Heart attack, fast, no pain." I caught my breath. I had just seen him 2 weeks ago. He was fine. He was smiling. He was alive. "The funeral is on Tuesday," Sarah continued. "I thought you'd want to know." "Yes, thank you." Howard's death shook me more than I expected. It reminded me how fragile everything is, how quickly it can end, how much we waste on grudges and silence when time is limited. That night I called Robert. We talked for 2 hours, about our childhood, about our parents who were gone, about the regrets we carried, about the things we wished we had said and done differently. "I love you, sis," he said at the end of the call. "I love you too," I replied. And I realized it had been years since we had said that to each other. On Sunday, David and I went to church. It wasn't something we did often, but I felt the need to be in a quiet place, to reflect. The sermon was about forgiveness, about how forgiving doesn't mean forgetting or allowing more abuse. It means letting go of the weight of hatred. It means choosing peace over revenge. I listened to every word, and something inside me began to change. I wasn't ready to forgive Marcus yet, but I was ready to consider the possibility. One day, when it hurt less. On Monday, I received a call from an unknown number. Normally I wouldn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Evelyn," said a woman's voice I vaguely recognized. "Yes, who is this?" "It's Chloe." My body tensed immediately. "What do you want?" "I need to talk to you. It's important. We have nothing to talk about. Please." Her voice sounded desperate. "Just 5 minutes, I beg you." Against my better judgment, I agreed. We arranged to meet at a public coffee shop the next day. I told David where I would be and at what time, just in case. That night I didn't sleep well. What would Chloe want? Would it be another manipulation? Another attempt to make me seem like the bad guy? I prepared myself mentally for the worst. On Tuesday, I arrived at the cafe 15 minutes late on purpose. Chloe was already there, sitting at a back table. She looked different. Her hair was unkempt. She wasn't wearing makeup. She had lost weight. She looked small, vulnerable, nothing like the confident and calculating woman I had known. I sat across from her without saying a word. "Thank you for coming," she said. Her voice was trembling. "You have 5 minutes." Chloe took a deep breath. "I came to apologize. I know it means nothing. I know the damage is done. But I needed to tell you anyway." "Apologize for what exactly?" I asked coldly. "For planning to lock me in a home? For wanting to steal my house? For manipulating my son against me? For which of those things exactly?" "For everything," she whispered. "For all of it. I have problems, Evelyn. Serious problems. I'm in therapy now. I've been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, and I'm starting to understand the things I've done, the people I've hurt." I looked at her without expression. "And you think a diagnosis erases everything?" "No, it doesn't erase it, but it explains some things. I don't justify what I did. I'm just trying to understand it. And to be better." I took a sip of water. "Why me? Why did you hate me so much?" Chloe looked down. "Because Marcus loved you. Because when he talked about you, his eyes lit up in a way they never did with me. Because you had something I never had, a real connection, unconditional love, and I wanted to destroy that because I couldn't have it." Her words were honest in a way that surprised me. But honesty didn't erase the damage. "What do you want from me?" I finally asked. "Nothing," she said. "I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry, that I recognize what I did, and that I'm going to live with that for the rest of my life." She got up to leave, but I stopped her. "Chloe." She turned around. "I hope you find real help. I hope you heal. Not for me, for yourself. Because living with so much poison inside must be miserable." Her eyes filled with tears. "It is," she whispered. "It is absolutely miserable. and she left. I sat there for a long time. I didn't feel satisfaction. I didn't feel victory. I just felt a deep sadness for everyone involved. Howard's funeral was on Wednesday. The church was full of people from the support group, family members, and friends of a lifetime. His daughter spoke about how her father had turned his pain into purpose, how after losing his wife he decided to help others going through the same thing, how he never let bitterness consume him. David squeezed my hand throughout the service. I cried, but not just for Howard. I cried for everything, for the lost time, for the broken relationships, for the second chances some would never have. After the funeral, at the cemetery, I saw someone standing far from the group. It was Marcus. He was wearing a dark suit. He looked thin, haggard. When our eyes met, he took a step toward me, but David put his hand on my back gently. "Do you want to talk to him?" he asked. "I don't know," I admitted. Marcus walked over slowly, as if he were afraid of scaring me away. "Mom," he said when he was close. His voice broke on that single word. "Marcus," I replied. My voice sounded neutral, controlled. "I'm sorry to come unannounced. Sarah told me about Howard. I knew him too, from the group. When Dad died, he helped me a lot." "I didn't know that," I said. "You never told me. I know I don't have the right to ask you for anything," he continued. "But could we talk?" "Not now, when you're ready. If you're ever ready." I looked at my son. I really looked at him. He had deep, dark circles under his eyes. He had lost weight. His hands were shaking slightly. I could see the boy he used to be beneath the man he had become, and I could also see the pain he was now carrying. "Give me time," I said finally. "I'm not ready yet. But maybe one day." His eyes filled with hope mixed with tears. "I'll take all the time you need. A month, a year, 10 years, whatever it takes." I nodded and walked away with David. I didn't look back. I couldn't yet. But for the first time, I could imagine a future where maybe, just maybe, we could find a way to coexist. That night, David and I sat in the garden of my house. The stars were shining brighter than usual. The air smelled of jasmine. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Confused," I admitted. "Part of me wants to forgive him. Part of me never wants to see him again. And both parts are fighting inside me constantly." "You don't have to decide today," David said. "Not tomorrow. Not next month. You can carry this confusion with you until it clears on its own. And if it never clears, then that's okay too. There's no manual for this, Evelyn. There's no right way to heal." The following week, I received news about the new house. Our offer had been accepted. We would close in 30 days. David and I started making plans. What furniture to bring, what to donate, how to decorate each room. It was exciting in a way I hadn't felt in years, as if I were finally building something for myself, not just existing in the shadows of others. Sarah helped me pack. We found boxes and boxes of Marcus's things, old clothes, soccer trophies, school projects. "What do you want to do with all this?" she asked. "Keep it," I said. "Put it in the garage. Someday, if he and I get to a better place, I'll give it to him. If not, someone else can decide what to do with it." We packed everything carefully. And as we did, I realized I could touch these things without them tearing me apart. I could see the photos of Marcus as a child and smile instead of crying. Something was healing. Slowly, but healing. On Saturday, Robert came to visit me. He brought his wife and their 2 kids. It had been years since we had spent time together like this. We cooked, we ate, we laughed. His kids, now teenagers, asked me questions about their father when he was young. I told them stories that made them laugh until they cried. "We should do this more often," Robert said before leaving. "Not wait for a crisis to remember we're family." Yes, I agreed. We should. 2 weeks later, Marcus sent me a package. Inside were $20,000 in cash and a note. The money I owed you for the down payment on the house. With interest. I know money doesn't fix anything, but it's a start. There was also something else. A photo of the 2 of us that I hadn't seen in years. It was from when Marcus was 7. We were at the beach, building a sandcastle. We both had huge smiles, covered in sand and happiness. Behind the photo, in his handwriting, he had written, "I want to be that boy again, who saw you as his hero. I'm going to work every day to deserve you again. I kept the money. I kept the photo. And for the first time, I responded. I sent him a short text message. I received the package. Thank you. I still need time. His reply came immediately. All the time in the world. I love you, Mom. I didn't respond to that, but I didn't delete it either. The day of the move arrived. David hired a company to move everything. I walked through my empty house one last time. Every room had memories, good and bad. This had been my home for 20 years. This was where I had raised Marcus. This was where I had mourned the death of my husband. This was where I had found love again with David. This was where I had discovered my strength. I touched the walls softly. Thank you, I whispered, for everything, for being my refuge when I needed it, for teaching me that I can let go and move on. David appeared in the doorway. Ready? Ready, I said, and I walked out without looking back. The new house was perfect. We spent the first night on the floor because the furniture arrived the next day. We ate pizza from boxes, we drank wine from plastic cups, and we laughed like teenagers. This is the beginning, David said, of our life together. Truly. Yes, I agreed. The beginning. That night, lying on an air mattress on the floor of our new bedroom, I thought about everything that had happened. The pain, the betrayal, the strength I didn't know I had, the love I deserved and finally had found. I thought about Marcus, about whether we could ever rebuild something, not what was. That was broken forever. But maybe something new, something more honest, something based on mutual respect instead of blind obligation. I didn't have the answers, and I was learning that was okay. I didn't need to have everything figured out. I didn't need to know how this story would end. I just needed to live each day choosing myself, protecting my peace, honoring my worth. Marcus had called me a burden, but what I discovered is that the only burden I had been carrying was the one of not valuing myself, of giving without limits, of loving without reciprocity, of existing only for others, and that burden I had finally let go of. I fell asleep that night, feeling lighter than I had in years. The future was uncertain, but it was mine, and that was enough. 3 months after moving into the new house with David, life had found a strange but peaceful balance. I woke up every morning in a room full of light, next to a man who loved me unconditionally. I had planted flowers in the garden. I had decorated every corner with things I liked, not what others expected of me. Sarah came over on Thursdays for our weekly coffee. Robert called me every Sunday. The support group had once again become an important part of my routine. I was living, truly living, not just existing for others. Marcus and I had started exchanging occasional messages. Nothing deep, just small things. He would send me photos of places he visited. I would respond with a simple, "Thank you for sharing." It was awkward and cautious, but it was something. A thin thread connecting us when before there had been nothing. One Tuesday afternoon, I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. I hesitated, but I answered. "Evelyn," said a man's voice. "Yes, who is this?" "I'm Dr. Miller. I'm Marcus's therapist. He gave me permission to contact you. Do you have a few minutes?" My heart raced. Did something happen? No, nothing bad. Marcus has been working very hard in his therapy. We've been processing the damage he caused, the reasons behind his behavior, and he has expressed a desire to eventually have a conversation with you, with a mediator present, if you're willing. "I don't know," I said honestly. "You don't have to decide now. I just wanted to raise the possibility. Marcus understands that this is on your time, at your pace, but I believe it could be beneficial for both of you." "I'll think about it," I said. "That's all I ask. Here's my number if you decide you want to explore this option." That night I spoke with David about the call. "What do you think?" I asked. "I think the question is what you think," he replied. "Do you want to have that conversation with Marcus?" "I don't know. Part of me does. Part of me is afraid to open the door again. Then maybe you're not ready yet. And that's perfectly fine." But something had changed in me. I no longer had that burning rage I felt before. The fire had gone out, leaving only ashes and a deep sadness. Maybe I was ready to listen. Not to forgive, necessarily, but to listen. A week later I called Dr. Miller, We agreed on a session for the following month. A month gave me time to prepare mentally, to strengthen my boundaries, to remember that this conversation was for me, not to make Marcus feel better. The night before the session, I barely slept. David stayed with me, holding my hand in the dark. "You don't have to do this," he reminded me. "You can cancel at any time." "I know, but I think I need to do it. For myself. To be able to close this chapter completely, or to open it in a different way. I don't know which one yet." Dr. Miller's office was quiet, with beige walls and plants in the corners. Marcus was already there when I arrived. He stood up immediately when he saw me. But he didn't step closer. He looked different, thinner still, with gray hair he didn't have before. His eyes, when they looked at me, were full of a sadness so deep it almost hurt to see. "Evelyn, thank you for coming," Dr. Miller said. We sat in a triangle. The therapist explained the rules. Each would have uninterrupted time. There was no expectation of forgiveness or reconciliation. Only honesty. "Marcus, do you want to start?" Dr. Miller asked. Marcus took a shaky breath. "Mom, I've spent the last few months trying to understand how we got here. And the truth is, we got here because I failed. Not just once, but hundreds of times. Thousands of times. I failed every time I didn't answer your calls. Every time I put Chloe's needs above yours. Every time I treated you like an inconvenience instead of the woman who gave me everything." Tears were rolling down his face, but he continued. "The doctor asked me to make a list of all the times I hurt you. I have 27 pages. 27 pages of moments where I should have been better, and I wasn't. And that's only what I can remember." He took a thick envelope from his pocket. "This is the list. I don't expect you to read it. I just want you to know that I finally see it. Everything. Every moment. Every cruel word. Every hurtful silence." "Why?" I asked. My voice sounded stronger than I expected. "Why did you treat me like that? What did I do to deserve that?" "Nothing," he said immediately. "You did nothing. That's what makes this worse. You only loved me. And I used that love. I squeezed it dry. I took you for granted because I thought you would always be there. No matter how I treated you." "You were right," I said. "I was always there, until I couldn't be anymore." "I know. And I don't blame you for leaving. I don't blame you for anything. This was my fault. Mine and no one else's." We talked for 2 hours. Marcus shared how Chloe had exploited his insecurities, but he also recognized that he had chosen to believe her, that he had wanted to believe that the problem was me because it was easier than admitting his marriage was toxic. He shared how the divorce had forced him to see himself without filters, and how he didn't like what he saw. I shared my pain, all the pain I had kept inside for years. I told him about the nights I cried feeling invisible, about how every slight was like a small death, about how his words, "My wife thinks you're a burden, and I agree," almost destroyed me. "I'm going to carry those words for the rest of my life," Marcus said. And I should, because they were the cruelest words I've ever said, to the person who least deserved them. At the end of the session, Dr. Miller asked what we wanted from here on out. Marcus spoke first. "I want to earn the right to be your son again. I don't expect it to be soon, but I want to work for it. I want to show you with actions, not just words, that I've changed." I looked at my son, at the man who had been my entire world for so long, and I felt something soften in my chest. It wasn't full forgiveness. Not yet, but it was the beginning of something. "We can try," I said finally, slowly, with clear boundaries. "And if you ever hurt me again, I'm gone and I'm not coming back. Do you understand?" "I understand," he said. "And I accept your terms. All of them." We started seeing each other once a month. Always in public places. Always for a limited time. Marcus never pressured me for more. He brought coffee exactly how I liked it. He remembered details. He asked about David, about my plants, about the support group. And slowly, very slowly, I began to see flashes of the son I had lost. It wasn't the same as before. It would never be the same. That kind of blind trust had been broken forever. But we were building something new, something more balanced. Something where both of us were complete people, not just mother and son in predefined roles. David supported me in everything. He never questioned my decision to give Marcus a chance. But he also reminded me of my boundaries when I forgot them. He helped me stay focused on my own well-being. 6 months after our first therapy session, Marcus invited me to dinner. At the new house he had bought after the divorce. It was small but cozy. There were photos on the walls. One of them was of us at the beach. The same one he had sent me. He cooked for me. It wasn't elaborate, just pasta and salad, but it was made with care. We talked for hours, about everything and nothing. And for the first time in years, I laughed with my son. Truly laughed. When I was leaving, he hugged me. It was a long, tight hug. "I love you, Mom," he whispered, "and I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving it to you." "I love you too," I said. And it was true. I had never stopped loving him. I had only stopped allowing that love to destroy me. That night, lying next to David in our bed, I thought about the whole road I had traveled, about the woman I had been, who let herself be trampled on believing that was love, and about the woman I had become, who knew that true love also requires respect. I was called a burden by the one who never knew how heavy my love was, I thought. But now that weight is no longer mine to carry. It was his. It was Marcus's. And finally, he was carrying it. I closed my eyes, feeling peace. The future was uncertain. Marcus and I had a long road ahead, but for the first time, I felt it was a road worth traveling. Not because he deserved it, but because I decided it. On my terms, at my time, with my boundaries. And that made all the difference.